In the White House, President Eisenhower signs the proclamation that makes Alaska's entry into the Union official, nearly 92 years after Lincoln's Secretary of State bought the territory from the Russian Tsar for $7 million.
The Alaska Wild Project podcast is brought to you by the following sponsors.
The Bait Shack, located on Ship Creek upstream of the bridge. Can't miss the bright red shack. They're the go-to fishing gear rental and guide service on Ship Creek. Tight lines and fish on. Come hook into the action with them. Hit them up at thebaitshackak.com.
Lawn Pro AK, your year-round professional property maintenance company, providing services such as weekly lawn maintenance, driveway sweeping, snow and ice management, and tons more. Get your free estimate today at lawnproak.com.
Anchortown Dogs, located at 4th Avenue across from the old 4th Avenue Theater. Look for the blue and gold umbrella. From reindeer dogs to bomb euros, they've got you covered. Anchortown Dogs, your local gourmet hot dog and sausage cart.
Menegato's Accounting, locally owned and operated advisory and tax accounting solutions. Passion, experience, diligence. Learn more at menegatosaccounting.com.
Double Shovel Cider Company, located off Arctic and 58th. Handcrafted, Alaskan-made cider. They also have a tap room downtown on the corner of 5th and E. Check them out at doubleshovelcider.com.
Serrano's Mexican Grill, 2 locations, one on Tudor, one on Northern Lights. The Northern Lights location has their new tequila bar. Check it out. Also see their daily specials at serranosmexicangrill.com.
AKO Farms, located in Sitka, Alaska, built from the ground up with concentrates as their single motivation. Find their products such as their sugar wax, full spectrum diamond sauce carts, and more at the Treehouse AK and other dispensaries around the state. Ask your local bud tender about AKO.
TheTreehouseAK.com, located at 341 Boniface Parkway. Your all-in-one cannabis and CBD store. Ask the bud tender what the strain of the day is to get your 10% off. The Treehouse, where the culture lives.
Marijuana has intoxicating effects and may be habit-forming and addictive. Marijuana impairs concentration, coordination, and judgment. Do not operate a vehicle or machinery under the influence. There are health risks associated with consumption of marijuana. For the use of only by adults 21 and older. Keep out of the reach of children, and marijuana should not be used by women who are pregnant or breastfeeding.
Tailored Restoration 24-hour emergency home services, helping Alaskans restore their dreams since 1972. Services include fire, water, mold, post-emergency cleaning, repair, and remodeling. Give them a call in Anchorage, Eagle River, Matsu, or Fairbanks. Hit them up at tailoredrestorationalaska.com. Boom.
Bombastic. Welcome to another Alaska Wild Project episode number 19. Today the topic's going to be salmon harvest and processing. That's going to include a whole bunch of details and things on how we do, what we need to do to get salmon and how we processes, and maybe some of the other ways that we've done it in the past. There's lots of ways to get it done. But before we get into that really quick, patreon.com/Alaska Wild Project. Thank you to the people that have been donating. Some people have been donating $20, which is really cool. People have been donating $5.
Really
everything helps.
Yeah, it's picking up, man. I like it.
Thank you.
Yeah, Thank you to you guys for sure. And so we will be putting out some extra stuff out there. We have a lot of videos still that we're going to try to edit and put out. You know, once this crazy summer that's been going on kind of winds down, we can kind of focus a little bit on that, as everyone probably is feeling it right now.
Oh, yeah.
I can see it in your guys' faces. I'm sure I look the same. Like, we're sun-kissed and, you know, it's like midsummer, but the few extra rings around the eyes, the monotone.
Practice what you preach. You got to get out in the summertime.
Just clapped out.
Oh, man. Just been full go. Full send, dude.
Man.
Full send all summer. Running just like on 4 hours of sleep, you know.
Yeah, every night. Like,
every
it's
night.
all you get. It's like a nap. You just get this series of naps. And I don't know about you guys, but I'll even get like a quick, like, I'll pull in the driveway and just like 10 minutes. Lay my head back. I mean, it's all I need. I just need that and hop out and like, all right, freshen up. But yeah, man, let's be real. I don't want to complain.
No.
Because this is like what we live for. And I know there's going to be folks around the country, state, around the world that would be like, are you kidding me? I'd love to just be up there for 5 days of it,
Yeah. Well, speaking on that a little bit, my cousin came up a year ago or 2 years ago from Miami, and he's
City boy.
grew up in Florida, grew up in Miami, you know what I'm saying, like the club life and all that, where something like that, us is like, oh, that's cool and fun to go do that. And he's excited to come up here and do, all the stuff we do. And he spent 2 weeks, maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks. And like, I didn't do anything extra. I just did all the things that I was normally doing already. Yep. Like, I didn't arrange my schedule to do anything special with him. I was like already going to the Kenai. I was already going to go to the Russian River. I was already going to go on this 4-wheeling trip or this boating trip. And I was like, I had all this stuff for him. And after like the third day, he's just like, dude, how do you just continue to do this? Like, he's like, what are you doing? Sleep. Like, yeah, he's like, I need to sleep. And literally when we were on the Kenai, remember the dude slept the whole time.
Yeah, that day.
Yeah.
He was so done.
Dunzo. And that was after like 5 days of just like, and he would go with me to the hot dog stand and do the whole grind and then do all the other stuff to get ready. You know what I'm saying? Because it takes a day to get ready. It takes a day to like clean the stuff up to be ready for the next day.
Living the AK life can be a grind.
Oh, yeah.
He was funny, man. Like that night, and we started the float at like midnight, just to give you some perspective. Like that, we still needed to rally for like 6 or 7 hours before we fell asleep.
Yeah.
So we ran through and then go to bed and get up at like, I think we went bed at like 6:30, got up at 9. And then we were rods in the water. And he was just looking at us like, you guys are out of your fucking minds. Like, he flipped like 2 or 3 flosses and was like, went and crashed on the raft.
Yeah, he like literally fell asleep just on the side of the raft.
Like,
just
done. Like, but yeah, you gotta like build yourself up to this, I think is what the lifestyle really does.
And I was talking to Jack earlier, and I know maybe we've discussed this a little bit too, is you come into the summer with all these things you want to do, and you schedule all these, like this weekend I'm going to do that, this weekend I'm going to do this, I got to remember this trip, this annual trip, this thing I want to hit. And you schedule all these things, and it just is like punch, uppercut, boom, next one, boom, next one, boom. Yeah. And I was telling Jack today, and I was like, man, I think next summer I'm not going to plan much. Like one thing that I really want to do, and I really want to focus on doing new things and a lot of spontaneity and just like be spur of the moment. Like the Tuesday thing, like, oh, you want to go on the boat? Yeah, let's go do that. Like I have nothing else planned. I don't have to go to this thing, or I don't have to go to this 4th of July thing we do every year, or this other trip we do all the year, which is still cool to have some of that stuff. But then you kind of get stuck in that same trip.
Yep.
Every year.
You repeat them. And I think that getting the boat last year really helped me in that area because I had to start being flexible for the weather. Mm-hmm. And then I wouldn't count on, I just didn't schedule as many of the trips. Like I've been jumping in on like your camping trip last minute now. Mm-hmm. And it also, that spontaneity, I think it's important to have a bunch of those like quick trips like we talked about last week on the podcast in your arsenal. So then it's like, oh shit, it started raining at the stand and you get home, but then it clears back up. So you'd shut down early and you're like, man, it's 4:30. I can go do something rad. What should I do? And you have the next, 12 hours to go do it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's right. I like how you said the back pocket, because that's what, you just got to have a quick pack or something just ready to rock, or your raft or your paddleboard, or just simply your hiking boots, just ready to throw on and go.
Yeah. Well, I think having a new toy or a new something also is like, all right, well, I gotta take away something to add more time to whatever this new thing is. True. So that helps a lot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or you get a friend that has a new something, or
No.
There's also been, for at least for me, like over the last 2 or 3 years, even more adversity to crowds. Later in this podcast, we'll get into like dip netting and stuff, but that's what drove me away from the dip netting was the crowds. Mm-hmm. And, that's what's been driving me away from some of the other activities I really liked and were on my annual list. And for me, like getting out and just getting off the grid and being away from everything is like a reset then. But as soon as you see one other person, it's kind of like when you're out sheep hunting, or you're like out in the sound on your boat and you're pulling into this like private cove and 100 miles away from Whittier, and you see that other boat, you're like, what the? You know, I got to move to the next bay. You know,
Yeah, and that's part of why I've kind of been anti buying like a motorhome, because then it's like you're always in a parking lot, you know, or you're always in a big group of people, and it's fun to go try to find somewhere where there's no people, and there's actually a lot of places you can go where there's maybe not a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know, like you said, you went up to Paxson and it was like half full.
Yeah,
which was
there
cool.
Was just
and
people drifting through. It was never full.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a little off beaten path, so it's one of those last kind of rare spots. And I'm sure it has its moments and weekends and, you know, times when it's slammed or it's full or, you know, 4th of July or just big weekends or whatever. But it was sure nice to just go out there and have something to yourself for a couple days.
Yeah.
Have you thought any more about going to like a weekday schedule or a weekend working schedule?
Man.
You know, I wouldn't be opposed at this point now doing that, because before it was just doing stuff with your friends and everybody worked and it was all off on the weekend. So it was just what you did.
Yeah.
And then now I still do stuff with my friends, of course, but a lot more is family oriented or a tight knit group of, you know, 1 or 2, 3, 4 guys tops going and doing something. And, yeah, I mean, I'd love to go on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday and come home on a Friday. I'd gladly go back to work for the weekend if I was able to get 3 days of something where I had it to myself.
Yeah.
Or just less of a crowd. There's always a crowd now, though. Almost everything you do is there's a crowd now.
I've always thought it would be a good idea just for like, as a general culture, to switch to 410s, whereas everything is 410s, but it doesn't have to be the same 410s.
Right.
You know, some people work Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and then it kind of spreads out, you know, people's days off, and it's not so crazy and crowded every weekend on every trip.
Yeah.
You know,
that should be a regulation that we need. Or
well, I thought it'd be cool for
90
schools.
days in the summer, we need 410s regulated. So businesses, you're going to have to adapt.
Yeah. No, well, I've been thinking about that. Like next year, like how do I make this happen where I just go hard for 4 days, you know, 10s, 12s. I'm already doing, you know, 16.
That ain't shit anyway. Yeah. You're already,
And knowing that I'm going to be able to do 3 days of whatever I want.
Full disconnect.
Yeah.
Whether it's nothing or whether it's, you know, go find a new spot.
Yeah.
You know, that's, man, how do you get to that? Like,
when you figure it out, let me know.
Yeah, if someone knows, let me know.
Write the rule book on that.
Yeah. Well, the slope boys got to do that. You know?
There's different compromises there.
Yep.
Yeah.
But they do. They get that access during the weekdays, and most of them use it.
But, I mean, I was at the Russian today, and it's still, dude.
It was like
you think you're going to go on the weekday and you're going to be by yourself. You're not.
Oh, no, never.
You know? But I bet you would if you went to some, I mean, that's at the Russian River. But if you go to some other place where no one's really there, you'll probably get like nobody there.
Yep.
You know, like some of those farther out trips, you know, you go out to, you know, Eureka on a Tuesday or something, or the Golcana or something different like that.
Yeah.
You're
there might be a handful of people out there, but you'll never see them.
Yeah.
Be so spread out.
Yeah.
Well, you were.
One more thing, though. I will say that the Seward Highway hasn't been that bad.
Oh, yeah.
It hasn't.
Right?
The several times I've run it has been very, very pleasant.
Yeah. So
pleasant.
Shout out to whatever the schedule is, because I know they're still doing stuff.
Yeah.
And that road's really nice that's finally done, dude.
Yeah, the new
except the bridge right there by Bird, like.
I know, just dragging that thing out.
Oh my goodness.
I think it's like a manpower thing. They're just like, they got it temped out, so they're doing all these other quick budgeted projects or something maybe, and that one's like.
I wonder if they're facing the same, like they don't have enough people to work.
Yeah,
like the restaurants and a lot of these other places.
Construction guys, man, yeah.
I have
Seems staffed up pretty good when you're running by those crews.
Yeah. But either way, positive.
Yeah,
thing
they're kicking ass and taking names out.
Yeah,
there
dude, because I busted out and there was no
job.
traffic. You know, you're not bad, and it's not the huge right after Girdwood at Bird. You're just like crawling back into Anchorage.
Has anyone been out towards like Glen Allen? Is there any traffic out that way?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, I mean, there's some gnarly construction on the Richardson. Oh shit! Did you guys hear about that landslide last week?
No.
They like shut the highway down for better part of a day, maybe two.
Where was that?
Not the Richardson.
Yeah, the Richardson. I want to say between Tote Cutoff and
It has to be. There's only mountains kind of over there.
kind of feeling like it was, I kind of feel like maybe like sourdough area.
Over there?
Yeah, landslide. We could probably look it up, but it was.
Yeah, maybe you do look it up.
It was pretty wild.
Because I know that the Colcana trip's coming. If there's something that's...
Oh, it would impede... Well, yeah, because it impeded your ability to go to Paxton Lake. You know, it might have just been right there after Paxton Lake before Summit, maybe.
Oh, okay.
It was like somewhere in that area. I'm screwing it up. But there was a wicked landslide that was really unexpected and kind of discombobulated the highway. But to Jack's question, no, there was just that construction on the Richardson where they're just doing a full overhaul stretch where they've got a base camp set up probably for a decade in Sourdough. And they're just ripping that shit. You guys know that stretch, though. I mean,
it's awful.
You take a tool.
They're redoing that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's like, it's full.
You know what it reminds me of? The sledding in Arctic Valley.
The frosty.
Yeah.
It's up and down, dude.
The
That trailer's
rafts are
just like,
flying
you gotta
up.
slow
You better
down.
bring like a whole bucket full of ratchet straps because you're going to be, changing out ratchet straps every 5 miles on your trailer going down that road. But no, but I mean, the stretch to Glen Allen was smooth and, man, there was like a car every 10 minutes. I mean, it was like when me and Rena went for our anniversary a couple weeks ago, it was like everything I could have ever wanted. I pulled over Sheep Mountain, whipped out the binos, looked at some big, beautiful banded rams, looked across the drainage or the valley on the other side, so just straight across from Sheep turned the corner, got my spotting scope out, saw a sow and two cub grizzlies crawling over there in the sun. It was like, and I just literally pulled over and was like, busting my glass out and was like, my wife's like, what? Just like that. I'm like, if you just look around, it's out there, and it's like you can do that all along the highway.
Yeah.
But,
those lookout spots are for a reason.
Yeah, it's called a lookout.
Yeah.
So you should look around.
Yeah, well, it helps to have a
a place to go pee
scope,
or and take a breather, let the kids out. But
yeah.
I know I kind of like got right in the middle. You were kind of giving all of our folks, our resources and our supporters some love there. We didn't get to give Heather a shout out. I was reverting back to.
Oh, got it.
Yeah, you were like Patreon. I wanted to circle back, make sure we covered all our bases. Think the listeners heard enough of that?
Yeah, they know.
Yeah.
Alaska Wild.
Yeah.
Go there.
No, I wanted to circle back and make sure we covered all that, but sorry, I'm gonna put a little speed bump in the flow there.
No, all good. So let's jump right in onto the topic of tonight, salmon harvest and processing. I know we were talking about the dip netting. Maybe we just get right into the dip netting right now. That was something that we did a few times growing up. We talked about Fish Creek. What did you say?
Fish Creek.
Fish Creek, which was one that we used to do.
Cook Inlet.
And I went. I did that as a kid, but recently the last dip netting I did was maybe 7 years ago down there in Soldotna, where you go to the Kenai,
From the beach?
Yeah. Dude, it's just not my thing, man. It's just not my thing, dude.
It's not for everybody.
It's insane, dude. It's
chaos.
crazy, the amount of trash that's going on, the amount of people that's going on.
Oh, it's
just
insane.
like who can walk out the farthest, with the longest pole you can do. And, it's an incredible amount of work for one, And then, you hear stories all the time. It's like, oh, well, we went out and we got 185 salmon. We went out and we got 200 salmon. And in my head, I'm like, why do you need 200 salmon?
Yeah.
You don't even have kids, dude. It's like you and your wife. You went and got 200 salmon for who? To send where?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I feel a little conflicted about that. Like, I go and get, I know that in my family, I need 20 fillets.
Yeah.
That's 10 salmon. So I want, 6 reds, which I got yesterday. So I'm set.
Nice.
I want some silvers.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I want to get a king, like a winter king.
Yeah.
And so that's it. And I'm set. Like, I know that that's the amount of salmon. We eat salmon once a week in my house. So I need about, not every week, but we eat about 20 to 30 fillets a year.
Yeah, throughout the year.
So I don't go out there in mind where I'm like, well, I'm going to get 200 so that I can send. I definitely have a lot of family I could send the stuff to, but I feel like, man, they should come up here and get it then.
Yeah. Put in the work.
Well, let's back up. So the last time you went was 7 years. Kenai, which is the most popular dip net fishery in all of the state. Largest run. I think the Kenai runs like 2.5 mil on sockeye alone, I think. I could look that up actually. I'm right on the website.
Late run last year was 1.8 million.
Yeah, I'm thinking like first, second, altogether.
And all this information is on the Alaska Department of Fish and Game, adfng.alaska.gov, if you want to look it up.
Yeah.
They constantly are updating these numbers. You can go back and look at numbers. Right now, up on the screen, we're looking at the website. It looks like Kenai's the one I do, right?
Yeah.
So in 2016, there was 271,000. In 2020, it was 274,000. It varies from 270 to look like there's even 300 and something.
That's for what was harvested dip netting.
That's the harvest number.
Yeah.
Just in the Kenai River
the,
dip net.
The Kenai River dip net harvest number for 2020 is 274,000 fish.
And that's all species.
That's crazy.
Combined. Yeah.
Dude.
And that's like 90+% sockeye.
Yeah.
I can shift it over to just sockeye and you can see it's 257.
Oh, this is just sockeye.
So sockeye is 256,000 round up, and then you got 274,000. So,
Okay.
that's majority is sockeye.
So they're showing 4 rivers: Fish Creek, Kasilof,
Yeah.
Gillnet.
This is all Cook Inlet.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is just Cook Inlet. But just adding those numbers right there, it's like what?
374,000.
400,000.
Yeah.
Just that's crazy.
Yeah,
That's a lot, dude.
Yeah. Well, there's 2.5 million. I just know that's like a good, like, solid number on sockeye run for the Kenai alone.
Yeah.
There's 2.5 mil, and we're talking 400,000 harvest for all the drainages in the whole Cook Inlet. This is just recorded.
But this is
fish,
personal use. This isn't
this is
like
just
commercial.
personal
This
use.
isn't
Yeah,
like
yeah,
set
yeah.
netters.
Yeah.
Or the ones that are caught in the river. That's the dip netting number.
That's just the dip netting.
Yeah. And I'm not so sure any
That's
of this has
massive.
anything to do with subsistence either. I think that's a whole nother deal there as far as like, locals plucking fish and doing their thing. And maybe it is, but
On the permits issued,
It
you
should-
should probably
it should
see
be-
how many people fished.
Oh, permits,
permits
issued.
issued. Yeah. It'll put,
So that was harvested by 8,300 people.
yeah.
So 8,000 people took 400,000 fish.
Oh, no, that's the did not fish column. So permits issued, permits returned. So that would be the 21,000
Yeah.
people fished.
21,000 people fished.
And then there's the ones that don't report, and there's probably a small percentage there. Well, I was going to ask you, Daniel, backing up, you talked about the Kenai and then the Fish Creek thing, which we run down the number, the year there, it goes all the way down. You can kind of see Fish Creek has been pretty consistent in its harvest, kind of in between like the 10 to 20,000.
Yeah. Well, the fish are there to be got then. I mean, the numbers are consistent. They're not like declining.
Yeah, they're hitting their targets, right?
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
the fish returned.
Well, what was the reason for your dip netting experiences before as a child? Your dad, your parents, your family, whoever took you out, did they have like an agenda in terms of a harvest that they were looking at a number?
Yeah. Well, I mean, back then there was, 3 families of us all living in a, trailer.
Yep.
And so
Yeah.
we had to get
Everybody was
fish.
starting
and
out.
there wasn't, there wasn't even a Costco
No.
back then. So
No.
it was like, we're getting as much fish as we can. I
Right.
get that. I
Yeah.
get that. You know what I'm saying? And I guess families still need that.
Yep.
You know
Well,
what I'm
there's
saying?
a lot to do.
I'm
yeah.
not saying I'm not like totally against it. I understand that you can get whatever. If your family needs 80 fish, you know what I'm saying? There's 20 of you and you need 80 fish.
Yeah.
Okay. But like 200, dude?
Yeah, I just did
Oh,
the
yeah.
math there. So out of the 400,000 fish that were harvested dip netting, and then whatever it was, 21,000 people fished, the average person kept 19.
If you average
Sounds
it out.
about
Yeah,
right.
so that sounded
Yeah.
a lot better. than-
Yeah.
and there are the rules. There's like head of household gets 25, and then 10 per member.
Dependent. I remember, yeah.
So
So are people inflating these numbers then? Saying, oh, I got.
Well, I think what happens is you get like a head of a household that brings out like 4 other head of household in their boat. Mm-hmm. So it's just like say
25,
and then
plus
each of
10,
them
plus
can
10.
keep 55,
Got it.
and then they go out there and they get 180. But I've definitely been on a boat that caught 180 fish before, and it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
me too.
it went to like 6 families. There was 6 heads
Yeah.
of households like on the boat through the day.
Got it.
And so like I ended up with like 25 fish.
Yeah.
which that's about what I want.
Yeah. Okay.
That's what my experiences were when, like 10 years ago, let's look at these numbers. Like the Kenai used to just be insane. What was it?
I think it's very beneficial for people that don't have time and they just get like one weekend to get it done and they're going to go
so
get it done. You know what I'm saying? But like,
Yeah.
I like to stretch it out.
Yeah.
You know?
Here's a couple of those years. So like pretty much 10 to like 15. I'm not good at math, but it looks like an average of about 400,000 fish reported per year. So you got like 450, 440, 350, 400, 396.
Well, it's gone down by half in the last 10 years.
Yeah. I mean, look at that. You can see. And so that's what I was talking about before the podcast. I was like, man, it's just been really rough these last 5 years where you can go and get like 18 fish, which seems like a lot. But when you're with 4 heads of household and you all split,
Yeah.
4 or 5 fish between each other, it's like, ooh, whoop-de-doo,
Well, I guess part of it is I don't want to see happen like what happened with the clams.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Because it was the same deal. Like when we were growing up, dude, we would have buckets and buckets and buckets of clams. And I'm like, dude, we're going to eat clams every day for the whole year. Like we need all these clams, Mom. And then we're just one, and you see all these people, and but that's what it leads to. It leads to depleting,
over harvesting.
Now you can't even do it.
Yeah. So I mean, there's the positive side of the dip netting that we experienced was we grew up going down to the Kenai in the late run and having to stay down there for like half a week, my dad would wait until the limit turned to 6, and then we'd just catch as many as we could for our house. And our family did eat salmon twice a week. Like still to this day, my dad eats salmon 2 or 3 times a week. Plus he makes smoked salmon and canned. And I think he keeps about 30 fish. And it's just him and his wife. And right now I talked to him this last week and he gave me some smoked and it's this year's fish. And I asked him like how his freezer looks and he's like, they're all this year's fish. So he used all of his fish.
Nice.
And that seems super reasonable. But so going back to like when I was a kid and there was not dip netting, we would sit there with tons of other people. We'd take like the boat in that middle section away from everyone. And there's so many people on the river fishing. Then dip netting started, we started dip netting, but then I went back to fishing that middle stretch and there's not very many people on the river. So now like if you enjoy fishing, it's really nice compared to what it would be if all those dip netters were out there trying to harvest with rods. So I I'm like, as long as they can manage the numbers and people aren't over harvesting, and you do hear the crazy stories where they're like catching way more fish than they're eating and it's like freezer burn.
That happens too much.
But as long as they're managing it right, and in terms of like they're eating their fish and they're hitting their targets for escapement, then it frees up the rest of the river for less pressure. I'm all about that. Less boats on river, less wake. Like there's a lot of like benefits on that side of the table too.
Yeah. You're right. I just don't really like the experience. To me, it wasn't. I didn't enjoy it. I don't think I would enjoy it if I went again and to be the guy that's the farthest out there and, hoping to get something in your net. There's not really much skill that you're doing there. It's just, to me personally, is just not enjoyable. I get it if that's your day to go harvest. Like, have at it, dude. You deserve the fish just as much as anyone else does living here. I am curious on how many of these fish get shipped out.
Oh, yeah.
I'd say a bunch.
Yeah, a bunch.
It's a big thing to be an Alaskan, and your gift to family and friends is fish or wild meat or
Would that be considered subsistence if you're harvesting it and you're not eating it, you're sending it to other people? I'm not sure what the official definition of subsistence is, but that doesn't seem like it'd ring the.
Look it up real quick. What is the official definition of subsistence?
It's definitely not that. Subsistence is got to be living from the land to survive, and it's a means.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like the tier 1 subsistence hunt, where it's like, this is for your family.
Right.
You get one. Yep. It's not trophy. This is not how many you can get. It's not this is get the biggest one. This is just get one for you guys to eat.
Yep.
Okay, so to that exact point, the action or fact of maintaining or supporting oneself at a minimum level. So
what's up? Say, but the minimum
The
income
action
needed for
of-
no below that it says the minimum income needed for subsistence.
So I'm saying that this says it all. The action or fact of maintaining or supporting oneself at a minimum level. So maintaining your fish, or you maintaining your subsistence harvest, whether it be fish or caribou or whatever it is in you're surviving off of, that you're using what only you need to ensure that you're maintaining a long supportive supply or resource of whatever it is. So that's kind of, so yeah, I guess dip netting, there's some subsistence to that, but the gray area is where's the over harvest, because I firmly believe, and I've done it. I've been on the boat, been the captain of the boat or whatever, where we went and got 225 reds for 4 guys. And
It's almost like people get in
we-
a frenzy.
Yes.
Like, oh, get them. Rah, rah, rah,
Yes.
rah, rah, we got to get more.
So I wanted to ask you if you ever dipped from a boat.
Oh yeah.
I have, and that's crazy.
When it's
as well.
good, when it's good,
Yeah, I have when it's yes.
it is a frenzy.
It's a dude. It's
It's like you
That's
don't
the
even
word.
know like how to. It's like you don't stop until the boat doesn't get on step, and you're like, oh, well, I think we're done.
Yep.
And it's like, oh shit, we probably didn't need 200 fish, you know.
yeah.
And did it all go to somebody that enjoyed it and consumed it?
I hope.
Yeah.
So.
Oh no, 100%. I know for a fact it did. I hand delivered fish to family and friends, grandparents, aunts, and uncles that otherwise are not physically able to go and get fish anymore.
Yeah.
That year, I called all my family and was like, "Who wants some salmon?"
Yeah.
And they gladly took it and enjoyed it. And I got endless photos of, oh, I smoked this or we grilled that, and it was great. It was cool, but it was in the moment. It was this uncontrolled chaos of. It was like a high.
Yeah.
Of like. It was like every time you dipped the net in there, you were like shoveling fish out of the river, literally, and the can filled and overflowed, and it was like so full of salmon, and then the salmon piled, and then you got one guy, like we got it down to where it was like, okay, 2 netters, deckhand, captain. Captain's almost like helping grab the pole when they're pulling one in, and then the deckhand is keeping up as fast as he can because you got to clip fins, so you're like clipping fins and throwing them in, so you're like doing the legal thing. So
To count them.
you're like, okay, I'm over here and I got like 4 fish in the corner I'm holding while he's clipping fins, and I'm like, okay, these 4, and then they got another scoop coming off the left side, 4 more reds, and it was just like, it was like a unbelievable high of like chaos and craziness and slime and scales and just like, oh man, it was an amazing experience. It was actually one of the funnest things I've ever done until I had to spend 2.5 days cleaning fish. And I was like,
brutal.
this is horrible.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned before that, freezer burn happens.
Yep.
Like I probably have 4 in my right now from last year that got freezer burned, and I have a good vacuum sealer.
Yeah.
So a percentage of the vacuum seals aren't going to stay sealed, and you're going to lose those. So you're taking them to bird, or you're doing something with them.
Or down to the zoo, man. That's always the best place to take your freezer burnt salmon or game meat. You take it to the zoo. They gladly accept clean, packaged meat that they can feed to the animals, and it supports that cause and saves them a lot of money. So,
well, what's other ways that, because those weren't around before, like when we were young, like we would wrap them in newspaper, like we wouldn't fillet them. You would just gut them and dehead them and wrap them up.
Yeah.
And I know people that still gets done.
Yeah,
Right.
And now the vacuum seal game has gotten a lot better.
Oh,
those ones at Costco are bad. Those are rad, I should say. And those work really well.
You get that
and those
commercial grade.
rarely,
Yeah. And then you go over and get your, good bags from Butcher Supply.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, if you want to do the subsistence, if you want to call it that, or personal use harvest, a service in terms of longevity in the storage process, invest in an incredibly high quality vacuum sealer and bags, and vacuum seal those things airtight and conserve the fish so that you can eliminate the opportunity for that burn.
The other thing I've been doing a little bit is I'll cook some sous vide style. So I'll actually like put a marinade in them, and that seems to really help with it.
Yeah, you were saying that. That's a really clever way to do a fish. To vacuum seal the juice in there so when it thaws, it's just pop right onto the grill. Like,
or sous vide it and cook it in it.
Yeah, like
cook it in the bag.
Or right in the bag, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, no,
Either
that's
way.
really slick.
Yeah, the grill's nice too.
Well, I mean, by definition, you weren't doing the subsistence thing when you're like, because that's for oneself, you know?
Right. That's everything against it.
Yeah.
Because the subsistence would have been like, hey, there's 4 of us. We need 100 fish. I know my blue tub holds 100 fish. Mm-hmm. So when it started overflowing, that's when you let the fish boil around the boat and you still went away.
Yeah.
You didn't just keep going because, well, I'm 25 and my wife's 25 or 10 and my daughter's 10 and my other kid's 10. Okay, cool. And then he's got 4 kids and then, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
well, I think
we didn't need to go and do all that. 100 fish would have been fine.
Yes. Well, I think going into a year, you should be like, okay, like I've done, like, or you've done, you said you need 30, you know, and I need 25 or whatever. Just know, like, that's, other than that, you're going to be not, once you go to the next year and you still have fish left from the year before.
Yeah.
Then it's like,
you can't go until those get eaten, you know?
Yeah. And people do.
Yeah.
Oh, man. People dump those freezers out and take those fish right down to the zoo, which is cool, which is good. It's not meant to be for that, but that's definitely a good way to recycle and use the fish for a good cause. But I know people, I'm not going to say any names, but I know a lot of people that pull 18 to 30 fish out of the freezer every single year that are no good anymore, and they go get more.
So I think a good positive turn on that is find out what it is that your family needs.
Yep.
Absolutely.
How many are you going to really eat? You know,
how many are you going to give
twice
away?
A week? Do you eat once a week? Do you really kind of get sick of it after December?
Oh, man.
You know,
I think most of us do.
and just
really.
get that.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah, I think that getting sick in December thing's really interesting because we all kind of grew up eating, you know, the same stuff, like the same fillet with like the mayonnaise or what, you know, or lemon pepper or whatever, and you know, it's good sometimes. But there's just, and I guess we'll get to it in a little bit when we get into the prep, but there's so many different ways to prepare it. And I think that really helps you get through it faster if you're on, you know, on your game while you're processing, running, you know, your marinades for your smoker or, you know, getting your cans ready or jars ready. And doing all these other things, making salmon patties up front while you're harvesting.
Salmon patties.
And then suddenly, I mean, if it's me like that, pulling salmon out of a jar versus smoked salmon versus a fillet, and there's countless other ways, are all completely different. And so I don't get sick of it then if I'm on my game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, before we jump into the
I had one more thing about like the subsistence thing. So for me, when you harvest an animal and we're looking at like, okay, we're harvesting it to, you know, hit the minimum threshold of what our family needs to survive, or I mean, we don't really need it to survive, but we do rely on it here in Alaska. What's happening to the other parts that like either like culturally or like within your family you don't use? So there's like the roe, there's the fish heads, there's other components that like my family may or may not value that other families do value. And I really wish there was a program out there to connect and like maybe like, and not quite forced, but push people to make sure that the products that you think are waste go to people that really would desire them.
Yeah.
So I'm
like
talking
the
about
fish
like
heads.
fish heads and
Big
roe.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when we were down at the bait shack the other day, and there was a lady that was just going by because people were cleaning fish, throwing them away, and she's like, "I'll take them."
Yep.
And in our culture, like we were never allowed to throw it. Like my mom was like, "You better bring the heads home. I want all the heads because they make the soup,
Right.
You know all that."
And
there's
many
a lot.
cultures use the heads as soup, and it is awesome, by the way.
That would be really cool to have a program where if you choose to save your heads, you can take it to wherever.
Yep.
And then a family can come.
Grab them.
Yeah.
When they're properly
idea.
cared for and it's clean and sanitary and all that, right?
Yeah, good idea.
And especially like when we're looking at, you know, what those numbers were, 400,000 fish. So out of that, like how many, 300,000 fish heads get thrown away? You know, all this salmon roe gets thrown away. I mean, I've had salmon roe caviar that's excellent.
Same here. That is good.
You know, fish head stew for sure. There's just all these other options. I think it's a forgotten part of like the subsistence process that we should be using as much as the animal as we can.
Yeah, because that's what the original, you know, subsistence users did. They used every bit of that.
That's
fish.
right. That's right.
Yeah, we
You know,
did.
down
Growing
to
up,
the,
that's
down,
what we
to, down
did.
to the fish bones. I mean, you used them for something.
Yeah, so that's when it made sense to my
Right.
family to do that, and we did that, you know, in
Yeah.
the 80s. That's what we did. But I don't know. It's
different now, man.
It's different. It's
Because
just
I know
different.
there's a lot of people that, like, they don't really like salmon that much, and they go and dip a bunch of fish, but they'll smoke them, and they enjoy smoked salmon. I think that's probably the most popular way for most non-fish eaters to enjoy salmon.
yeah.
Because I think we've all said that before. Like, salmon is equivalent to like a gamey flavor on fish. I personally love it, but I think
Compared to some other
like if you're
fish.
not a fish eater and you tried some salmon, it might not actually be
The best fish to
the
start
best
off with.
start off with. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's a little bit. It's
Like the sushi thing. You don't start off with
Yeah.
the unagi.
Yeah.
You know, you start with the California roll or whatever. And you
But
move
I
up
would
from
say-
Salmon skin roll.
that. Yeah.
I would say, yeah, I would say to the credit of, you know, mass harvest is that I know personally a lot of people that, like, I'm sure like Mr. Lau, John Lau, is probably a supreme smoker. I've got uncles and grandpas and friends, some old timers that just make just the most fire smoked salmon, and you can do a lot of fish and then store it for a long time. And I do think that there's a lot of guys that's like a hobby and it's fun, and it's like they harvest all that fish to smoke it all up and can it all up and spend all that time and money just to keep 6 fish worth of cans in a little box in their pantry when they give all the rest to their friends and family, because they love to share that passion of that preparation.
But they don't want to
and
share the
creation.
recipe though.
No.
Right?
Yeah,
That's
people hold it
secretive.
tight.
Like, I think people would eat more if
Yeah.
they knew the way that your dad does it,
Well,
or
and
the
I
way your
wanted
uncle
to
does
say
it.
too, like, you know, our like market, I guess, for it in Alaska or in Anchorage, like the big box stores, they all have all that equipment. So like the general guy can just go to Cabela's or Walmart or whatever and buy the smoker and the pressure cooker and the jars. And I really feel like in my heart, I want to believe that there's this like massive amount of people that are taking all these massive harvests and then they're keeping them and smoking them and doing this cool thing, and then it's still going to good, or it's being stored for a while, because there's like a really cool longevity to that process and making it last longer. And so maybe there's a year where you go get 40 fish for your family, but then the next year you strike out or you don't have time, and then, hey, cool, man, you got all those fish 2 years ago, it's still good in the pantry,
Right.
smoked. So I guess I'm just trying to spin a positive on it, and I think it's more popular now than it was in the 80s and 90s. And I know there was guys that did smokes and stuff, but I think just more guys or more people that are harvesting salmon do it because of the resources of the equipment are more available. And therefore I feel like all these fish are going to good use, I guess.
No,
I'd like
Don't
to,
get me wrong.
yeah.
A lot of it, a majority of it probably is. I mean, I've been a
know-
part of canning days at Thompson's, and it's just like 2 days of just straight canning all this
canning
stuff.
party.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah,
canning
and
party,
smoking.
and you
It's
got
the whole thing, yeah.
4 pots going, and all these
Yeah.
jars and setups, and everyone's trying to do different recipes and labeling, and it's the whole team, and it's
Right.
awesome and it's fun, and everyone's gonna eat that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And
Everyone
it's
that
gonna be great.
participated gets some.
And it's good for the kids. Like they're part of like catching it and then preparing it, you know, and it just leads to, you know, they understand where their food comes from. They understand why it's important to us to harvest our own food and the work it takes. So it's like you don't leave it on the table.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's the best.
Yeah, you don't
part
want to
of
be
it.
showing waste, you know, like definitely not. But I think we should get people to share more, like the recipes,
Yeah.
you know, because if I knew more cool ways cook salmon or to smoke salmon or whatever, like, dude, I would try it. I would do it. And why is it a secret?
We'll get into some today.
It's all good too. It's like, why is it?
Like, can I have? I'm not gonna take your salmon. I'm just gonna take the same things you go buy at the store and make it like you do. Like, you should be proud of it.
Well, and you really aren't gonna duplicate somebody else's like 30-year repetitive recipe to the T.
Yeah.
You know, like my aunt claims that she does my Uncle Don's smoke, and it's like, nah, it's really good.
Yeah.
But it ain't Uncle D's. Like his is its own thing. Like it's his little sprinkle of timing or whatever the hell he does a little bit different. Yeah. That makes it like.
Well, to that point, a lot of time there's not an actual recipe. Like your mom, my mom was asking your mom how she makes her what was the drink that she makes in the morning?
Bloody Mary?
Her Bloody Mary. And she's like, I don't know. I just kind of like
do this,
do that.
Dash of this.
Yeah. So it's like, I get that some of them don't, but some guys, like, they have their recipe that they do.
And it was like what Adam Markham said when he came on the show. He was like, I'll share any recipe I have with you. Cooking's an art. Yeah. You're not going to nail it if you just follow the recipe.
No.
You got to like throw a twist on it or whatever. But, no, man, there's a lot. I mean, we can go on for hours on that topic, and we'll keep moving because we're talking about harvest and everything. But no, the dip netting thing is like, I would love to take you out on my boat and go dip netting. I got the nets, I got the tote, I put the ice in the bottom, I got a cooler of beer for the, I run the boat, so I keep it G. But everybody else is, having some cold ones and some laughs, and it's just like a good time. And it's an adventure, and we get out there and we have jokes, and you watch the other boats, and you watch the guy get stuck on the low tide on the sandbar, and he's, you know what I mean? He's the joke, and you got the commercial fishing guys and all the cool boats. And I mean, it's just a really cool part of that
goes
well, it's
just a different culture. It's a different thing,
Yeah.
That like we kind of steered away from as our family did it a couple times. Mm-hmm. And then we just went more towards like river fishing, like actually, I prefer to spot, like I prefer to spot fish and see it like that. I love that.
Yeah. It's so fun,
and I feel like a lot of pride when I pull that salmon out and I'm going to eat it. I'm like, man, I actually remember when I got this one, or like the cool tip I gave before, we put whoever caught the fish, his name on it. So like Mateo, the 3 he got yesterday and the day before, his name's going to be on it, like the date and when he got it. And so when we pull that out, he's like, oh, I remember that. And you can even show him a picture, like, oh, we had it. Yeah. That's really cool. You're not getting that.
Yeah. I love it. That's a really cool idea. I've never thought about that. And that's, if you want to get your kids excited about harvesting stuff.
Yeah. Or even eating it. Cause a lot of kids don't like salmon,
not at first.
And then, but if it's like, hey, you cut this, like you have some, like, how do you want to cook this?
This is so good. Cause I caught it. Just choking it down. We're talking about the culture. Let's get into the Treehouse AK, your one-stop dispensary located at 341 Boniface Parkway. Be sure to ask the bud tender about their deal of the day, because honestly, there's always something on deck. And guys, listen, this is where the culture lives. At the Treehouse, their dedication to servicing consumers has been developed through a lifetime involvement in the cannabis culture. They're committed to providing the highest quality products at whatever your value or budget affords, while always maintaining the deep-rooted principles that have carried them thus far. Their focus is on relationships over transactions, and you can always depend on them to treat you with respect you deserve. Hit them up at thetreehouseak.com. You must be 21 years of age to enter the store.
Also, a shout out to Tailored Restoration, 24-hour emergency services, helping Alaskans restore their dreams since 1972. Services include fire, water, mold damage, post-emergency cleaning, remodeling, and the aftermath. I bet they would definitely come and help you out if that freezer goes out, which happens, and your whole house smells and all that stuff melts and drains. Ooh, boy. Anyway, so including... I'm
going to hold that thought.
Including freezers that go bad, burst pipes, brutal. Overflowing toilets, down trees, fires, pet accidents, and vandalism. Tailored has an emergency response number with trained professionals available to help you anytime, day or night. Hit them up at tailoredrestorationalaska.com.
Yeah, man, that's like a huge fear that I have, is that freezer.
They make alarms.
I mean, I'm talking about when you're like out of town.
Oh, yeah.
And there ain't no like getting to the alarm. It's like,
what's the alarm?
They make an alarm so that if it goes out, it beeps, beep. It won't stop beeping.
Oh.
So that someone knows that it's off.
It plugs in like between the freezer and the wall.
Yep.
Oh, I need one of those.
But I just thinking about that, like, why don't they have it where you get a signal on your phone?
I was gonna say
like
an app. There probably is one.
Yeah, that
The
would
I bet
be
there
freezer
probably
app?
is one. If there is one, we need to. Oh shit, we spoiled it.
Yep.
Now somebody else is
Freezer
gonna be a
app.
millionaire.
Yeah,
We'll buy it.
last year going into I have a detached garage, I found my freezer defrosting, but I think I caught it within like the first day. Like
yeah.
everything was solid, frozen still. It was just like I heard the hum wasn't there when
Yeah.
I walked in. It just I knew something was wrong. Just got
too quiet.
super lucky.
Some of the newer ones have like a little light. Like mine has like a little green light that's constantly flashing. And so I'm always like,
Is that
this thing on? Is this thing on?
Yeah. You can always hear the cooler kick on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Make sure it's going.
All right, I'm going to give a shout out to Serrano's Mexican Grill. This is my personal favorite for a go-to for authentic Mexican food. On Canyon Day at Double Shovel, that's what we get. We get the Serrano's burritos. I also like to get those shrimp street tacos. Super delicious. It's Anchorage's own new generation of casina. Recipes are all inspired by their rich heritage and family know-how. All ingredients are made in-house. They have a new tequila bar, which has the Mescalita, which is my personal favorite. 2 locations, one on Tudor, one on Northern Lights. Follow their food truck location on Instagram, and you can check out their daily specials at serranosmexicangrill.com.
Nice. How about before we get into the what we do when we actually get these salmon? I mean, we can walk through like what I do with different salmon, what you do. And maybe some other ones. Do you have a trivia? We didn't do. We kind of skipped the trivia the last few times, actually. So, and I know people are digging the Jack's trivia.
No, it's good. I was surprised when we were editing the podcast because, as a lot of people know about our podcast, our friends and stuff, like we're just rolling with this thing. We got a loose script, but we go with it. And sometimes we get so caught up in thought or a conversation and conversations that are before the podcast and after the podcast that we're like, oh, damn, we forgot one of the parts of the show we wanted to do. And that's just part of this, the complexity, I think, of what this is that folks don't really know about. But so sorry to the listeners. We didn't mean to miss out on the trivia. We're just we're in it. So sometimes we forget.
Full run and gun right now. Summertime.
On
All
fumes.
right. Yeah, let's do it. So, for these like red salmon subsistence and commercial fisheries around the South Central, we have the Copper River drainage and we have the Kenai River drainage. Which one of those 2 drainages has a greater, more population for the steelhead run? Or not steelhead, sockeye run.
For sockeye?
Yeah.
Copper
Which one
or Kenai?
has more sockeye?
Wow.
Could cheat and just like,
No.
no, I'm kidding.
Off the gate, I think copper.
Same here.
Even though a lot of times us Anchorage folks stick to the Kenai, a lot of people do go up there, but that's the one we mostly utilize. But I think it's copper.
Yeah, I feel like it's the copper, but I think it's the Kenai because I don't know that the copper pushes 2.5 million sockeye through it a year. But Jack, what's up?
Yeah, the Kenai is about double.
The Kenai's double.
Yeah. So the copper run the last 2 years have been. Last year was 530,000, which is a super low year, and the year before was $1 million.
But the copper's more like famous.
Yeah, I
More prize. They think it's better. Why?
think the fat content. I believe
Is that what it is?
That's
they
a fact.
They make a
That's a
further run.
Ah.
Yeah, no, that is a fact. I mean, I've watched my uncle smoke Kenai and copper red side by side multiple times.
Okay.
And be like, look, nephew, look at the way this fat juice rises up and then the end, and he cooks it. He does it exactly the same, and then he pulls the fish out from the year before out of a can, and then he takes a fork and he peels it open, and he'll just break it down and be like, man, there's just no doubting that that Copper River Red, and I think there's just a little extra flavor there with that.
Okay.
I mean, I personally can't say I'm like, oh my God, this is like night and day versus Kenai.
Yeah.
It's still delicious, fresh, wild salmon. I mean, but.
All right. So I totally agree. But the Kenai River Reds are still delicious.
No doubt.
So
And bigger. I mean, that's the other
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, they are bigger.
Yeah, they just harvest more
The
meat.
late run.
Oh,
Yeah, the Copper's more like the Russian River.
got it.
Okay, so which river in Alaska has the biggest red salmon run? And this river broke the record in 2018. Its own personal record.
Hmm.
Casilla? No, I want to say the Nushagak that goes into Bristol Bay. Is it that one?
Copper River. I'm gonna go with Kenai.
Yeah.
That's my answer.
Yeah,
I think
going with,
Kenai.
like the Bristol Bay drainage.
Nushagak is
Nushagak. Yeah, thank you.
Nushagak is. And in 2018, what number did it have?
Oh, it is the Nushagak.
Yeah, yeah,
oh,
yeah.
nice. I
Yeah.
actually got one for once.
Hey.
I wish we had the hype horn on the button,
man.
dude.
Didn't you win that hat once?
Oh, that's
Oh,
true.
yeah,
I did.
yeah.
Okay,
Like
hold
on the
on.
very first
Okay,
one.
this hat I'm actually wearing right now.
Yeah.
I did. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that was the second one. For real though, we need to get the horn.
Okay, I'll put
We need to
it
get
back
the
on
hype
there.
horn. I know it's played out on podcasts and shit, but for this trivia banger, when we actually get one,
Okay.
we need that. We need
Maybe
that
we
hype
should
horn.
have like a caribou call or like a ch-ch-ch, or like all three of us open a
Oh, that's a
can,
good
or
idea.
like a ptarmigan.
Okay, that's something a little more original.
Yeah, some
marine horn?
Alaskan. You know?
Or how about one of my just ridiculously obnoxious cow calls? People will be listening to it and just turn it down like, what the hell is that?
You do got a crazy cow call. Have you heard this guy's cow call, man?
Let's hear it.
He like contorts his body and everything. Like he can't.
hear
I
it.
guarantee you can't do it sitting
Well,
I
I'm
down.
not
think I
gonna
get
do
a
it
cramp
anymore.
in my shoulder blade.
No more trivia until we hear this thing.
Oh,
You're gonna have to stand up, dude. You got, okay, here it is.
I gotta like get the full. I will.
And then we'll record it afterwards on the button
Okay.
so that we can
Okay.
play it. But you're gonna have to stand up. I know you're
Well,
gonna
it's
have
funny
to.
because there's gonna be like 100 different like hunting guys. I'm like, well, that guy's calls bullshit. You ain't calling it nothing but a.
Yeah, of course. There's always haters, man.
Yeah, those sourdoughs.
This dude said on the shout out to this hater on the YouTube. Did I send you that?
Which
It's
one?
like, I just spent an hour and a half of my life on this. You should delete this. I can't believe I spent a whole hour and a half watching this. And I was like, you spent a whole hour and a half watching this, like, and you and
The
you had
sheep
took
hunt
even
video,
more
right?
time to comment and
Yeah.
like direct a hater reply. Like, dude, you could have cut it off anytime. We're not forcing you.
Yeah,
So
just
I
sat there,
watched
just like
this,
I hate this so much. I
can't
just
stop
can't
watching.
stop watching. I hate the guy's face and his voice.
These
And
guys suck.
are they even gonna kill him, Ram? I mean, who even puts a video of that? I laughed at that. I was like, come on, dude.
Yeah,
That was for the Brooks Range.
yeah.
Oh man, that video is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's a real.
Well, that's why I put the word experience in there.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
This is
Yeah.
not like we killed the ram 2020.
Yeah.
Didn't see anything die.
It's like, oh no, we got 4 rams.
Well, that's
Like,
not
oh,
what
okay.
it's about, buddy.
Yeah, no, exactly.
All right, so this is Brandon's.
This is ridiculous.
Man, okay. Can you get him? See him on the video? Okay, yeah, all right, good,
Yeah,
good,
yeah.
good. Put this down. If you want to see this action, just go to our YouTube video, and about the 58th minute is where we're at, and we're gonna see
Yeah,
my
58.3.
full C's up on the right shoulder, maybe.
This gets a weird nerve cramp or something.
You might want to back
right.
up though,
Yeah. All right.
or
all right.
like might be too loud.
Yeah. Just get it.
just don't
oh,
be
you
all
all
the-
like not so like on the mic.
Yeah,
with it?
yeah.
All right.
Because we can hear it from back there too. It might even sound better.
All right. I'll just
So
get
we're
my
some
general-
we're a big bull on the other side.
Oh yeah. You get this. You flare this thing out. You start getting horns swaying back and forth, and you get grunts going. Oh, you get it going on. All right. So I'm gonna do this thing. It's kind of ridiculous, but it does work. For the record, I showed you all those pictures of that. You know what I'm saying?
I'm saying back off the mic. Like don't go into the mic. It's gonna be so loud.
Like okay, it is too loud. Okay. Starts
I'll
with
turn you
plugging.
down here too if it gets.
You gotta
too,
plug.
so just
You gotta
set
plug
it.
the nostrils. That's number one. You gotta get the full. Okay, you ready? I didn't know that this podcast was gonna go to this
yeah,
angle.
well, you
but-
never know.
All right, here we go.
She's ready, dude.
Dude, doesn't she just sound like she's just flared
I'm
up?
like breaking into the studio, bro. Holy cow.
Bull knocking on the door down there?
Whoa.
I mean, I don't know. Man, my Uncle Don taught me that.
I thought you were going to pass out right there, bud.
Rest in peace, Uncle Don, man. Oh, my cousin sent me the coolest video. He passed away a couple years back, and they got his headstone back, and we were talking about commercial fishing, and they put his boat on the tombstone.
Oh, that's
cool. on top of
like an etch of it?
Yeah, I'll show you guys a picture of it. It's just badass. But no, I mean, I kept playing with, like, this isn't even the podcast about cow call. We'll just get this through real quick. But I was just trying to figure it out. And then my cousin does a pretty good call too, which you learned from my uncle, but it just doesn't have enough noise. Like, it's quiet. It's a great call. If a moose is close, it's a great call.
Okay, it doesn't have the range.
Mine is like, I'm trying to call one out like 5 miles across the meadow.
Got it.
So I get the bull magnet out and with this, like the megaphone. You guys seen that thing? And just, get that whole thing going. And I mean, it just is, I don't know. It feels
you go
like
bull magnet, not the birch roll up?
Yeah, bull magnet. I love that thing.
I have the bull magnet as well.
Yeah, and then I tape it up. I tape it up so it's not so like dong dong like hollow sounding
when you're walking as well.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh, it's the worst. That's actually why I put it in my backpack. I don't actually carry it free. Yeah. Unless I'm like in the walking and calling, that's a different story. But anyway,
when we walk and call, I don't bring in the magnet. I only use the magnet from like way up on the spotting hill or at camp.
You know what else is badass? Is it you can put it up to your ear
and listen,
and it funnels noise in. So if you got like a bull that's scraping off in the distance or just making a faint. It's just like way out there. You can just.
It's cool to do when you're on those float hunts because that thing just echoes down the river, dude. Yeah, dude. Exactly. And every little thing you got to be really quiet, dude, when you're on those because like even the oar just like that just like echoes down the river, dude.
Did that just sound ridiculous?
That was crazy. I can't wait to hear it again.
I know. I'll have to hear it before we make sure we don't have to edit it out. I don't know if that's as cool as the hype horn for the trivia achievement, but
well, maybe we just do like a
little short version of it.
Huh. Why you do your face like that?
You got to contort your face to make the sound.
Dude, it's like
it's a struggle. But no, man, rest in peace, Uncle Don, man. He spent many nights in the cabin at Lake Louise drinking, cold Bud Lights and
did he coach you up like?
He was like, here's how you do it, and you get deep here, and then like I would just kind of do like one like, meh. And there's probably like 100,000 guides that can get on here and be like, this is how you do it, and this is what it sounds like, and you hear everybody's different variation. They're all kind of similar, but. I don't know, man. We've got
it's all that whining.
The different tones as it like goes up and down, and I try to make it sound as if like the wind is catching it and like blowing it out
like
or whatever,
out.
or maybe the cow has like some wind and the trees are like swaying back and forth, so its sound is kind of like blocked and then open and blocked and open. I mean, I'm probably way overthinking it, but if you just think about a cow, if you ever seen one call, which you don't actually see or even hear naturally that often, they don't sound like that. They just don't. But for some reason, bulls like that ridiculous thing. And
whenever I do one of those calls on the end. I always have to like when you go to the end, you're like, I always have to add like I don't know why I just have to. It's like a little tick or something like that. I just have to just add that last little piece. My kids love it. They're like waiting for it.
Just smiling at you the whole time you're doing it.
Yeah, and I love to let the kids try to do it, and they go out there and do it, and like you'll see a moose in the winter in the yard or.
They'll just go bust a call out on it. Yeah. It's one of my favorite things to do. I have like a full process from, sun up and, hunt for 45 minutes. And then I'll go do a session for 15 minutes in 3 different spots. And then I'll come back and then I'll go back out 3 hours later and I'll do it again. And I'll go over to another spot 600 yards from where I'm glassing and go do that. And, everybody's got their own system, but there's just a really cool, fun, you know, you get into a hole and it's like moose isn't going to come in the first hour, and it does happen, but it's a long game approach. It's like I'm looking to get that moose in here like 3 or 4 days from now that I can't even see, and I'm just going to be chilling up here, and then all of a sudden he's going to pop out. And it's like and he's grunting. If they pop out grunting, they're not just grunting because they feel like it. They're grunting because they're trying to find what they heard 2 or 3 days ago that might still be up there playing around. So I don't know. It's worked a lot of times. Got a lot of antlers in the backyard to support the theory. So it's
keep it up.
Yeah, man, it's fun. So
we got way off topic.
We did. Were you done with the trivia too? That was
we were
closed
gonna,
it down.
How many in 2000? What did I say? 2018. Yeah, 2018. The Nushagak broke a record.
Oh yeah.
How many fish came in the river that year?
I don't even know what the previous record was.
So 1.8 go into the Kenai every year. Okay. How many do you think?
2.4.
2.7.
24.1 million.
Jeez. Holy shit! Wow.
Yeah. So this is like the fishery, Bristol Bay fishery.
Oh, okay.
So the total fishery.
What year did it break the record?
2018, and the total fishery that year had 62 million.
That's crazy.
Good
yeah.
Lord.
So that's Pebble Mayan area.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's oh my God. I'm glad you brought that up. And I think that was the year, if I remember, my wife's cousin I think was up there doing his fishing thing. You met Little Richard that one day. He
Little Richard?
Well, there's Richard, his dad, and he's Little Richard.
I have not met Little
Sorry,
Richard.
sorry, Richard. Sorry about that, buddy. He's probably like, man, I'm like 30 now. I'm not Richard. Little Richard anymore. No, he's a good dude. But I want to say that I might have been because of the heat the year before or whatever, that there was fish like dumping out of the lake. Like there was so much fish that went up that they just died and then washed out, and a lot of them didn't even spawn. And I'm not sure what all the information technically is on that, but yeah, I mean, I'm not no expert on Bristol Bay, and I know that's a sensitive subject, and there's a lot of different
we'll have to bring
debates.
In
we will have to talk to people that are educated on the subject. I'm by no means up to date or have like a major opinion. I would say though that obviously there's no denying there's a lot of salmon that go up there, and that's pretty important. So I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
So.
Let's transition this kind of back to the harvest, and I think what would be cool if you guys agree. I'm just gonna kind of walk through the salmon that I get through the year, what I do with the salmon, and how I process that salmon, and not really how I eat the salmon. I mean, there's different ways, but just basically what my process is throughout the year, and then maybe you can go through yours and you can go through yours and just do what we do, because I don't do the dip netting. So like I said earlier, I like to get some kings, and normally it's winter kings. I found that those are easier to get. Those are consistent. We've been consistently going to the Homer Winter King Derby, and sometimes we've been going in October. So I'm counting on those, but those don't ever get frozen. Like those Winter Kings, we come home and we eat that salmon, and that's like one of the weeks or 2 weeks of the year that, we're eating a lot of fresh salmon.
Yeah.
So that's one of the trips that I do, and so that gets eaten right away. And then it jumps right into the first run, and I do a lot of rafting. I will try to go fish on the Upper Kenai and try to pull 3 to 10 of those out of there, and I'll eat a couple fresh ones. I'll give like my mother-in-law a fresh one or whatever, and then I have a Cabela's vacuum seal that works really good. I think it's a lot better than the Costco Food Saver. I had one of those for a long time. Those go bad. Sometimes the seal doesn't say. I've had 0 issues with the Cabela's Pro model.
Was it more like commercial grade?
It actually says commercial grade on it, but it's not like the expensive. Like I think the one at Costco is like $1,000.
The new one is $600.
Okay,
they switch brands.
Okay,
but it's that style where it's the
dome,
the void, is vacuum sealed.
Yeah,
or put in a vacuum, not the bag.
Yeah. So I go and I go to the butcher supply there on Mountain View, and they sell the bags that are already the length of a salmon. So, they're like 2.5 to 3 feet or whatever they are. And they're the width too. So that when you fillet the salmon, you can stick the whole fillet in there flat and vacuum seal it in a high quality bag. And that Cabela's thing, that's what I use. That's what I have. I think that costs like just under $300. Mm-hmm. And it's been working great so far. So I will vacuum seal those. And one thing that I do before I even bring the fish home, like I like to do all the work on the river. I will clean that fish out all the way. I'll trim all the little rib bones and all the little blood and all that. So once it goes in the Ziploc bag and it gets home, it's whatever we're not going to eat. It literally goes vacuum sealed right there with the date, who caught it, the name, into the freezer.
Yeah.
So I'll get some of those, and then we like to walk the Russian, which we just did the last 2 days, and we got 6 out of there. I gave a couple to my parents, so we'll get some of those. And then from there, I like to get some silvers. In the past, I was going with my father-in-law to Seward and getting some of those silvers out of there, those chromers, which is amazing.
You get a limit of 6 too. Mm-hmm. You can really stock those up.
Yeah, so I'll go and get realistically, 5 to 10 of those out of Seward for the silvers, or I'll even go back to the Russian River, Kenai, or in the middle there and get some silvers there as well. And then
silvers are everywhere.
Yeah, and the silver, and then we've been floating also the middle too, and getting some of those that second run.
Yeah, reds
of fish there too.
Yeah,
and so I will take those home and I bring them ready to go, vacuum sealed, in the freezer, dated, and I'm set for the year. I think that's all the fish that I get is pretty much those 2 rivers. I don't really hit the Kasilof a lot. I don't do a lot of these. I don't go to the Copper. I have gone to the Clatina and stuff like that before. It's just kind of far for Anchorage boys to head out that way. I know a lot of people that do that. It's kind of a mission.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a Fairbanks kind of a interior fishery for most of those guys.
Yeah, totally. I think from my personal preference, I like kings a lot. So we usually try to get some kings. I didn't get any kings this year. But definitely my favorite eating fish, and it doesn't stay in the freezer very long if it does get frozen. The bellies are bomb for smoking. Get through that king, and then usually the early season Russian, we go out there, try to get those camp spots. We've talked about that before. And those fish usually get eaten at the house pretty quick. So those don't really end up in the freezer, maybe like for a week or two kind of thing, or they get processed into other things. And then my favorite red fishing is definitely the Middle River after it's 6 a day, 12 in possession, spend 2 days out there, try to get 12 fish. If that happens, then I don't really take any dip netting fish. But if that doesn't happen, or minimal dip netting fish, one of the members of my household goes dip netting. And then I usually will try to keep 25 fish for the family. But they don't all just go in the freezer. That day we make salmon patties. So
with it fresh?
Yeah, with it fresh in a meat grinder versus the other style of cooking fillets first. And then my favorite way to eat salmon is jarred, so with some spice in it. So that's something I've been trying to be better at, making them early. But typically I make the jarred over the winter, so it's like I'm pulling them out in November, December. I posted a couple times where I jarred this spring on my Instagram, but as I run out, I rejar them. So I finally kind of almost run out of last year's fish. Usually I'd be out of it by now, and I'm going to smoke the rest of it. But I need to be better at, like what we were talking about earlier, is the day that we harvest it and you're out there filleting it, decide like which ones of those fish you're actually gonna blacken and sear. So take the skin off those ones right then, and then which ones are gonna go in the jar. Take those skins off there and start jarring right then, and then start your brines that day for some smoked salmon and that kind of thing. I need to get better at that front end loading of separating the styles of how you'll prepare it. But but those are like the main styles I like. So in terms of like when I get the fish, like especially on the dip netting, they come to my house, and the first thing I do is I have them in a cooler with ice, and then I pour a bunch of vinegar in the cooler, and that breaks down all the slime, and it helps the scales just come right off. So that slime adds like the fishy taste. My goal is, I pull out that vacuum sealed frozen fish in a month, in 12 months. Like I could like lick the bag and it's not gross like that. I don't do that, but that would be my goal. So like you smell it, it's not nasty, and if you get all the scales off, so this vinegar works really good to get the slime and get the scales to start coming off, but then we'll lay them all out in the yard and take a pressure washer, wash them all down, all the scales and slime are gone. Now it feels like a hooligan. It's grippy. It gives you the opportunity to make perfect fillets. Your fillet table's not getting nasty. And then there gets into the style of like how you like to fillet. Do you fillet from the belly or the back, the front? The back. The tail. There's a bunch of different methods there, and I switch it up based on what I'm going to do with it. So after I'm done with that, then if I leave the skin on, I'll make the fillet. Then I'll cut the fillet through the center, from top to bottom, right in the middle, and then but not cut the skin. And then I'll fold it, and then it fits in like a smaller freezer bag.
Okay.
And then that way, the skin's touching skin, even if it has any leftover slime or whatever on it. It never touches the meat. And then I use one of those chamber vacuum sealers to seal it up. I also try to, add some ingredients for the ones I'm going to sous vide and keep them separate. So like some honey teriyaki from Shaggy, or just whatever you can do dry rubs too. And then after I'm done sous videing those, I put them on the grill for a second or sear them. Either way.
Quick question. As you're proceeding with your process, you said the jarring, which is awesome, and I need to get one of those. I've only been to like jarring things. I've never really done it just on my own at my house. Do you like jar for an extended period of time? It kind of sounded like you just pull out and just jar like a few, like when you want to do it.
Yeah. What my jarring, so we share the pressure cooker between my dad and Jerry and I. And so it just gets passed around. I believe mine fits 8 jars per row or per level, and it does 2 levels of the big jars I use.
So it's a tall one.
So yeah, like
16 pints basically.
Yeah,
is what you're
16
talking about.
pints at a time.
Well, they sell them at Costco too. Is that a legit one? The
I
one
haven't
that they sell
seen
at
that
Costco?
one.
Like there's one time of the year when they sell those jars that are the pressure cookers.
My mom
there.
has one and it's pretty good. I was just at Ace Hardware yesterday, just browsing around. I was looking for a better fire pit for just the backyard, and they got kind of some cool, unique shit other than like a Home Depot or something like that. And they had a whole stock of the different size, small, medium, and large canning pressure cookers. You should go check it out.
Okay,
they had a really good. They had all the jars. I mean, if you're going to like a big box store and you can't find anything.
I just wonder which one's better, because I remember when we were at the party, like some of them were working a lot better, and I just overheard them saying,
some seal better than others.
This one's better, less get unsealed or whatever.
Ours is from like 1986.
Yeah.
88, probably 88.
Made it good.
Yeah.
I don't.
Heavy
I
duty,
think it does,
like my mom liked to say. That's heavy duty.
It's heavy duty, but it leaks for sure. I mean, Costco's
well,
pretty
the seal's
legit.
probably just gotten worn out, man. I mean, that's
Yeah.
a lot. It's probably canned a few.
It's warped a little bit is the problem.
Yeah. She's probably got hot and cooled down a few times.
Yeah. Yep. And then I also made a mistake. So usually I do it outside, but we moved my turkey fryer somewhere else, not on my property, and so I used the like big mega instant boil feature on my stove, which I never use, And when I turned it down, you boil it and then you have to turn it lower. You got to keep keep it at a certain pressure and temperature. When I did, it was so low that it wasn't getting a complete burn, and it set off all the carbon monoxide alarms in my house. So that was kind of a bummer. So I won't be doing it on that again. Anyway,
it's worth a try. Yeah, I feel like if you can throw that thing out in the driveway or your porch.
I've only seen it done outside. People do that in the house.
We always did
my
it in
uncle
the
does
house
it in the
growing
house,
up.
man.
Really?
Oh yeah. Like 2 or 3 day process between the smoking, brining, smoking, canning. Right, it's like a 3-day thing, kind of in a way.
Yeah, I mean the way that I can, I don't can smoked salmon.
Oh, you don't? Oh, wow.
So we
there's
just
an art to that too, by the way.
I bet we just vacuum seal it, and it seems to hold up really well.
Yeah, that's solid.
You just usually get a clean seal. But for mine, like I just make it right there, and it as it's like boiling in the jar, it's cooking the fish, of course, but it's also flavoring it, and then it stays in the flavor. So I just thaw fish the night before. Then that day I cut my little slabs that fit in each one. I pack them like 2/3 full. I put the liquid level below where the top of the salmon sits. So it's like, I want to say it's like halfway up with the salmon in it. So it's probably really like 1/3 or less.
Or a quarter of fluid that's actually in there, right?
Yeah, and you can play around a lot with that. You can put like different vegetables in it. Like I've seen people
jalapeños.
put.
Oh, dude. That's
chilies. Yeah. And then I like it spicy. But I like to make it so I can put it like right on like the local green salad. And that's all. That's like my salad dressing. It's
That's
like
so good.
all the
That was my
That
the
oil.
go-to after hockey. Those jars just
Yeah,
you
they're
eat it with
so
crackers or
awesome.
eat it on the salad. Oh,
Yeah, or you can make bomb salmon melts. And then I
there's
make
so many
non
good
spicy
things.
ones for the kids. It's
Or patties or whatever you want to do with it.
yeah.
need to get into that.
Yeah, I mean, my mom does it. I give her my fish, and that's what she does. And
Can I
she
give her
takes.
some of mine?
Yeah, she just takes a commission. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I'd like to go do it because
Yeah.
I have a lot of good ideas and things to put in there that I've seen and want to try just to see.
Yeah,
It's fun to go to that. I mean, the one that there was like an entire table of just options of things to put in.
Yeah.
There's a
Oh,
table.
it's so cool.
Oh, it's so
Man.
cool, man. And people bring things like, oh, I never thought about that. And
Yeah.
this and that. And I know
Tom
that,
says good recipes.
like his Bloody Mary mix.
Yeah.
Well, that's like, you'd be surprised how good that is, dude.
Yeah.
He puts it in his canned fish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that sounds really good.
That one's really
That's a
good
good
for
one,
the
man.
kids.
Yeah.
How about spicy margarita?
Yeah, dude, there's all kind of stuff.
Dude, what's up with that thing though? Your mom made that this weekend?
Oh,
What? That thing, my mind was blown.
yeah.
When that thing got put in my
heartburn was
hand.
blown
Oh yeah,
off.
it just like
5, 4
literally
in the
I
morning.
started blowing off before I even drank it. But I
Jeez.
saw jalapenos in a cold drink. I'm like, whoa, hold the phone, dude. What is going
Yeah,
on
that
with
was
that?
good. That was
That was
really good.
really good. I was blown away.
So
I
let's
never had
walk through
anything
your
like
little,
that. Truth be told, guys, I'm like the lamest salmon guy ever.
that's okay.
Like, I don't have your guys' process down. I've kind of like a hit or miss. I spent years where I harvested a lot, and then years where I didn't harvest any. Lately, as I said before, I'll look at. I mean, right now I'm good with like 10 fish.
Yeah, perfect.
That's it. I mean,
good.
fillets, and that's like I don't even need that, to be honest. I mean, I'm good with like a half a dozen.
Yeah.
Well, I'll make it work, but I will on a year where I'll harvest. Say like I'll get like 20 reds. I'll go dipping. I'll get maybe 10, and then I'll go rod and reeling. The early Russian, which like I think Jack said, those fish kind of get just mopped up. They get thrown on the grill and cooked, like fresh caught. They're small. You can eat the fillets. The whole family can eat almost a fish in a night, And the mid river is awesome when they bust it open to like 6 fish, and then you can go out there and I'll go out there at like 10 o'clock at night, catch a limit, and then let it roll over into midnight and enough daylight at like 2:30, 3 o'clock, catch another limit, and then you're like, wow, man, I got like 10 or 12 fish in a short period of time. Try to beat the crowd, and then I'll take. Say I get like 20 fish in a week, 3 or 4 days or whatever. I'll take like a dozen or more to my mom, And as a donation to the, to the cause, right? Like the village, you take your food to the elders, the family, you share. And so she takes a cut, which I don't ever really know how much that is. I go buy a bunch of curd jars and jalapenos or minced garlic or whatever she needs to re-up her supply.
I bet she has some good recipes.
Oh, dude, it's good. She's been tuning it in. The smoking is definitely something that she's dabbled with over the last 10 years, but she's still trying to figure it out as far as finding like her place. Cause she's got her big brother's footsteps that she's trying to, not trying to follow, but his smoke was like the elite, highest level, best smoke that any family member ever put out.
It would be really cool to, maybe this winter when we have a little bit more time and actually create some of these videos of jarring, the process, the technique. So that's like, hey, this is how you do it. Yeah. So, and then from there you can put your own spin on it, just kind of show like, this is how you do it. Yeah. This is what's worked for me. Yeah. Maybe the same with the smoke. Cause I have a smoker. I haven't even used it. Like I always give it to someone else to do it, Johnny or someone else that they already have their set ways. And I really like how they do it. So I just like kind of the same deal. Like you give them some and they're going to keep some and you get some back, which is cool. Yeah. But it'd be really cool to show people how to do it and learn yourself how to do it and show your kids and stuff like that.
There's a lot of cool videos. I've watched them on YouTube and I've been inspired to do it. I'm like, ooh, that's like 2 or 3 days. I'm like,
yeah. But in the winter you could do it. Like Jack said, it's like in October, November. There's nothing really much else going on.
Right in between things.
You could even do like a ice fishing / pressure cooking thing. Yeah. Bring the propane and the little burner and that thing out there.
Out there canning fish while you're ice fishing?
Yeah.
No, I mean I just things have like shifted. I used to be a huge salmon harvest fisherman, and I don't know, something changed. I think I got to a different place where I have like buddies with ocean boats, and so we go load up on halibut and rockfish, and that just kind of shifted my priorities in terms of my time to go fishing. As we talk about all the time, you only have so many weekends and weather. Buddy calls you and is like, hey man, it's 2 footers for the next 2 days. It's like, let's go get some flatfish. And then
it's also what your family's into, if the kiddos and the wife is more into, halibut and stuff than salmon, then that's the route. If you can, that's the route you go.
And years ago, we used to harvest a lot of kings out of the Deshka when they opened that fishery back up, and they had like 2 a day limits for, I don't know, maybe like 3-4 years. And we were pretty good at getting fish out of there. A couple, 3 or 4 of us would go out on a boat and come out of there with, 6, 7, 8 kings. Yeah. And Eric's dad, Bruce Corman, he's a Willie. He's a master of smoking. He's got his own thing. He makes a killer jalapeno smoke. But his king, his smoked and canned king, was the best of all time. And I used to just take a whole king and I'd say, hey man, whatever you need, take, which he would never take any because he would have his own 2 kings or whatever because he was one of our buddies, that was catching fish on those trips. And so I would end up with like a Tropicur box, if you imagine what like a pint case, all right, 24 of them, I guess. Yeah. I dropped that off and I'd pick it up. Nice. And it was full of smoked salmon in like 4 days.
That's cool.
And then that was something that was like my most exciting thing that I like to do. And my harvest was getting those kings. And I didn't eat them all at once. I would have them throughout time and share them. I was pretty stingy with those jars of fish. That was pretty special to me. And that was a huge thing I used to do with the king. And then came the dip netting and that time when we get 150, 180, 200 fish. And here I'm stuck with 20 or 30 fish. And I would, frequent Alaska Sausage, do their lemon pepper and their, I don't know if you guys ever really used Alaska Sausage for smoked fish in their vacuum seal, but it's solid.
It is good.
It's really good. I mean, you're kind of throwing your fish in with the masses, so you kind of lose that connect to the handling of the fish from, say, from the water to the table, if you will. Because you're kind of not even 100% sure your fish is your fish when you drop it off at a big processor like that. But that was always convenient and really good. And that was kind of times when the summer was so run and gun that so-and-so or so-and-so didn't have time to smoke my fish and their fish or deal with it. And so I would just go run it through and have them take care of it. And I would genuinely enjoy that fish through the winter where I could I was younger. I was into working out all the time, high protein diets, and I would just crack that thing open and eat a whole fillet, a fully smoked fillet, and it was just easy and it was good and it was clean and it was healthy, and I would just consume a lot of salmon during those times. But yeah, I mean, I'm really just us having this conversation and thinking about, showing your kids new stuff and taking on new hobbies, which it's really hard to find time to take on new hobbies with other things that I want to do. But man, I'd sure love to just learn how to can, and
that's smoking's
kind of next level. I think I'll pass on that side. It's just really time consuming, but like canning fish is simple and it's a way to really enjoy salmon.
Yeah.
Even years after. I mean, I've pulled fish 2 and even 3 years out of that pantry.
Yeah.
Cracked it open and made a smoked salmon spread and to put on bagels, and it was still just as good as if you did it a week ago after you caught it. I mean, there's just so many cool things you can do. So, and I think there's other creative stuff you can do, but I've slacked the last couple of years, though. I just haven't been harvesting the way I used to, and like I said, the halibut and rockfish and all that's kind of taking precedence. But
okay.
It is. You go through phases, I think, too.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Before we wrap this up, I kind of want to give people a heads up on some of the things that are upcoming. We are coming into the hunting season.
Right around the corner.
So just like a heads up on some things that we're going to do. We've been talking about wanting to do, and we are going to do several gear reviews. I wouldn't really say it's a review. I'd say it's more of like what we're using. And some of the topics that we brought up that you guys will see. These will be short, hopefully around an hour or so, 30 minutes to an hour on backpacks. One will be on bino harnesses, cook stoves, sleeping bags, rain gear, safety equipment, boots, different things like that. Because we're going to be out of town a lot, and we're going to kind of record these and have these kind of queued up so that we can be consistent with our show every week. And so just be prepared to see that. And these are going to you're going to want to consume them on YouTube. If you haven't gone on YouTube yet, please go subscribe. We're trying to get the numbers up. We have lots of content on there. And these gear reviews, I mean, it'll be cool to listen to it, but it's going to be a lot cooler to be able to see it, on the camera when we're talking about these things that we use. And we're going to talk about the things that we actually use and that we know work.
Yeah, field tested.
Yeah. So that's
they'll be short too. They won't be, a podcast that's an hour and 45 minutes. It'll be 20, 30 minutes, 45 minutes tops.
Yeah. And we'll see how far they go, how in depth they go.
We'll play with
Some will go a little further than others.
Keep it organic.
Yeah,
definitely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And some of these like backpacks, I have like 5. You have 4. You probably have 6. And we'll bring all those in and be like, this is what I use for this. This is what I use for that. This is what I use for this. So that's something to look forward to. Also, we still plan on bringing the boater safety people in from the state of Alaska. So if you have any questions for them or any crazy stories on boat accidents or something something happened, let us know so that we can add that into the show as well. We will be going on tour, I guess I want to say. Unfortunately, we're going to have to relocate the studio into another section into the building what we have. But we're going to make that a seamless transition where we're going to go and do a live podcast from Double Shovel, maybe a live podcast from Prince William Sound on the boat. Some of these other places that have been wanting us to come in, like the Rock Gym,
Barney's,
Mountain View Sports. You may be back to Heather's Choice, go to the facility over there.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
And some of these things that while we are in the transition of preparing the new studio, we will go to these other places and bring the equipment. And that'll be something really cool for those businesses and for everyone that's listening and watching.
Give the viewers, an insight look at what some of these places are and what they're about. And we can talk about them all day, but if you can see it for yourself.
Yeah. And if there's a certain piece of equipment that maybe you didn't hear us just now, that you want us to really talk about, let us know. Headlamps or something you really want to find out about. Hit us up, because I know we use this stuff all the time. You use a different thing than I do, but all these things, most of them work, and we're only using things that work.
Yep.
And have been going out. So if you haven't left us a review on Apple, that's another cool way to support us. Go on Apple right on your phone. You can just go to our page, scroll down, and write a review. Good, bad, ugly. If you're a hater, We might shout you out on here.
Yeah.
If you got the time.
Well, I mean, it's just an opportunity that, you know, we've said it over and over again, man. We're not sitting here trying to act like we know everything about this stuff. I mean, we're here to educate and talk about this stuff to what we know, but there's a lot of people out there, individuals that know a whole hell of a lot more than us about some of this stuff. And when we bust out the backpack review or overview or whatever you want to call it, and we're talking about the stuff that we know that works and the products that we like, please do not hesitate to reach out, email us, hit us up, talk some shit, joke some whatever you want to do, man. Just throw down, because everybody's got something to say.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're willing to listen and hear the feedback, good, bad, and ugly, like you said. And it's good, because if there's something we don't know and you got something to say and it's helpful.
Yeah. No, we're only going to tell you guys what we use and why we use it.
We're not experts, but we use some things. They work well, and we'll share it with everybody.
Yep. So, and one last thing, AlaskaWildProject.com is you can find our schedule and all our gear. We have the hats coming. We got new stuff coming. That's probably one of the best ways to support us. The Patreon. Thank you everyone for listening, and don't hesitate to hit us up, and we'll see you next week with another podcast.
You remember my speaking to you of what I call your overcautiousness. Are you not overcautious when you assume that you cannot do what the enemy is constantly doing?
The Alaska Wild Project podcast is brought to you by the following sponsors.
The Bait Shack, located on Ship Creek upstream of the bridge. Can't miss the bright red shack. They are the go-to fishing gear rental and guide service on Ship Creek. Tight lines and fish on. Come hook into the action with them. Hit them up at thebaitshackak.com.
Lawn Pro AK, your year-round professional property maintenance company, providing services such as weekly lawn maintenance, driveway sweeping, snow and ice management, and tons more. Get your free estimate today at lawnproak.com.
Anchortown Dogs, located at 4th Avenue across from the old 4th Avenue Theater. Look for the blue and gold umbrella. From reindeer dogs to bomb euros, they've got you covered. Anchortown Dogs, your local gourmet hot dog and sausage cart.
Menegato's Accounting, locally owned and operated advisory and tax accounting solutions. Passion, experience, diligence. Learn more at menegatosaccounting.com.
Double Shovel Cider Company, located off Arctic and 58th. Handcrafted Alaskan-made cider. They also have a tap room downtown on the corner of 5th and E. Check them out at doubleshovelcider.com.
Serrano's Mexican Grill, 2 locations, one on Tudor, one on Northern Lights. The Northern Lights location has their new tequila bar. Check it out. Also see their daily specials at serranosmexicangrill.com.
AKO Farms, located in Sitka, Alaska, built from the ground up with concentrates as their single motivation. Find their products such as their sugar wax, full spectrum diamond sauce carts, and more at the Treehouse AK and other dispensaries around the state. Ask your local bud tender about AKO.
TheTreehouseAK.com, located at 341 Boniface Parkway. Your all-in-one cannabis and CBD store. Ask the bud tender what the strain of the day is to get your 10% off. The Treehouse, where the culture lives.
Marijuana has intoxicating effects and may be habit-forming and addictive. Marijuana impairs concentration, coordination, and judgment. Do not operate a vehicle or machinery under the influence. There are health risks associated with consumption of marijuana. For the use of only by adults 21 and older. Keep out of the reach of children, and marijuana should not be used by women who are pregnant or breastfeeding.
Tailored Restoration 24-hour emergency home services, helping Alaskans restore their dreams since 1972. Services include fire, water, mold, post-emergency cleaning, repair, and remodeling. Give them a call in Anchorage, Eagle River, Matsu, or Fairbanks. Hit them up at tailoredrestorationalaska.com.